Hi there, this is my 1953 Dodge. I guess this is, they call them a pilot house truck, Fargo. I'm not really sure if there's a difference or how you tell a difference, but I was going to do a little video on my wiper motors. I've got this 1953 going on a 95 Dodge Dakota frame. Right now I've got it currently just setting on there. It's not welded down. I kept the firewall from the Dakota and setting probably about 2 to 3 inches back from where the original firewall on here was, about right in here, right up here. And so it's setting back a little bit further. And I kept some of the front part of the floor of the Dakota, and just going to try to graft them together, just weld that together. I know a lot of people have done this, and I know that there are kits out there to do the windshield wipers, but I'm not spending $300 on those. And I've come up with my own way of making my wiper motor out of the Dakota work on this truck. So I'm gonna see if I can go ahead and start them. I just got this jumped over here to my I've got it wired up to a switch, but I've got it jumped to my battery charger. And as you can see, they're wiping. That's on low. The camera's gonna suck for this, but and that's on high, and I'll go around the front so you can kind of get a better idea of it. Now, I'm not too worried about it scratching the windows. I do have a rag wrapper on the one, but the windows are cracked and old, so they need to be changed out anyways. But yeah, a little bit more adjusting to do on them, but and I know they can go down further. And this is just testing, so I'll pull it apart here in a minute and try to show you how I did it. All right, well, here's my setup, and this is it in action. This is outside of the truck. This will be exactly how it goes in there. The front facing the front to the engine, so to the firewall. So as you can see, both sides are pulling in at the same time. That was a problem I had. I was trying to just use one linkage from the passenger side over to the center, but then you get the opposite effect. While one's going up, the other one's going down. So it's just back and forth and back and forth. So when you shut it off, passenger side was up in the air and driver side was in the park position. So I had to come up with a way of reversing the passenger side. So I built this. It's just simple, just a piece of angle iron, and put a little pivot spot in it. I tried first to do that, the piece that it pivots on straight, well then the linkages overlap one another and fight each other, so I had to make it kind of an offset to where it'll actually miss each other. Yeah, this is just crudely done. It's not perfect. I'm going to go back and just probably clean it up, do some more adjustments on it, but this is just, I guess, how to, I guess, just to set up a linkage on it so that you could actually use the Dakota motor without having to spend $300. It is, I think it is, from most of those places, and a lot of the reviews I read, the motors don't last that good. This should be a stock motor, bolts into the factory spot where it bolts in on the truck, which I guess I could show you where I have it set up at. So it bolts in right here in the middle of the dashboard. I just have 2 bolts right there. And then that bracket, if you come through, so if you're using the stock gauges and all that, I don't know if this would be beneficial. I think this one was just a speaker hole. There wasn't even anything in here. It just had the screen on it. But if you look in there, you see there's a hole right there. I can get my light up in here. And there's a hole right there, and that's right where I put that bracket at. I just looked wherever I could do stuff with the least amount of having to build anything extra or drill any extra holes, and it's actually hidden by this cover here. So that bolt, you'll never even see it. I plan to put speakers in there, and I'm probably going to put a speaker over here, even though that's not where one actually goes, but that's what my setup is going to be. I'm actually just using this little Amazon Bluetooth radio thing, like 15 bucks. All it is just a Bluetooth amplifier. But anyways, this is how I've done it. So this is some of the things I'm having to do to make this work. Kind of hard to tell the curve on this, but it was pretty straight. And I put a little cut in it so that I could bend it the way I wanted to. That way it fits on the motor real nice and loose freely, so it's not binding anyway. That's what the first part I was doing. I came up with one. When I did it the first time I did it, and it was binding. So I just keep tweaking it. On top of the motor, I just took the original bracket that was there and cut it flat across the top, I guess, kind of flush. Originally I just taken the motor that I had from the truck and kind of just did some measurements and just kind of roughly estimated where everything should be at so I could get the center pretty right. And I just put a piece of flat steel I had. I took it, put it up there, cut it around where I wanted it. Originally I was going to use a piece of flat steel that I made an angle iron and come down behind the back of the motor, but it kind of got in the way. If I do want to put the original switch in, it'll be in the way of that location. So I try to make it smaller. It still seems to be working just as good. It came down, put another piece of flat there, just kind of give it a little bit of reinforcement. Don't look at my ugly welds, but I couldn't really reach down in there without taking the whole motor and everything out. I didn't really want to do that. So, but it's only 3 bolts, except for I cut this, I guess they call this maybe the transmission part, this little linkage. I cut that off of the motor. Originally they bolt on. This setup I made myself. This actually, when you put your system in park, that part you'll just have to figure out. Mine is actually reverse. So park is, let's see, I think it's in park now. So park on the other side, it would actually be pointing to the other direction, and I needed it to be on that side, so I just flipped it around and then I welded that in place. My main thing was just making everything fits, not so loose that it falls off, but loose enough that it actually has movement in it. I don't want it binding, and the more free I made it, the quieter it is in the truck. There's one more position that I can get on the linkage on this arm on the driver's side. So I drilled an extra hole in there, that bigger hole. I actually used it, I drilled it the original size, and it works, and I get a little bit longer stroke out of the windshield wiper, but really when it's on high I pretty much get it anyways. But really I don't think that I need it, because it's making too much noise in there. It's trying to really work the motor, and the dashboard is not very thick steel. It's pretty thin, so that's all it's bolting to. So I guess you could put in some more brackets. I think that's what the kit, whenever you buy them, they come with some other kind of bracket. I don't really want to do that because I'm trying to keep the original, well, the Dodge Dakota. I'm trying to keep the Dodge Dakota heater box and air conditioning box, so that all has to go back in the truck. So the more stuff I put in the way, the more stuff I got to try to work around. So I know that right now I'm about 95% sure that I can get the heater box in there. I had it all pretty much in there where it's sitting now, except for I didn't have the cab squared up where I wanted it. Right now I think I've got it pretty much where I wanted it. So anyways, enough rambling on. Any questions, put them down in the comments.